You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Thursday. It means we're brought to you by Rouse's Markets. Bring you all of our shows on Thursdays. Appreciate you hanging out with us as we start working towards the weekend. Got Jacob Beck and Casey Gaines back there on the ones and twos. Luke Johnson talking black and gold. They don't have an offensive coordinator yet. Where are they in terms of that search? Luke will fill us in on all that coming up in 15 minutes. We'll chat with Patrick Wright coming up in an hour, 2 o'clock straight up. He is the voice of the Lady Tigers, who have a huge one tonight inside the PMAC. It is going to be full. It is going to be loud. It is going to be a lot of fun. Number one, South Carolina is in town to face the defending national champs. So Patrick will fill us in on what he expects to see tonight inside the PMAC. Chris Blair is going to be with us in an hour and 15 minutes to talk about LSU and Georgia on the hardwood last night. And that's where I was going to start the show today as of 8 minutes ago. But news happens, and we're here to talk about it. So we will. Breaking news from The Advocate. Wilson Alexander is reporting that former LSU football star Kayshon Boutte has been arrested for sports betting violations, according to the police. I'll read the lead of Wilson's story here that I've just pulled up, again, 8 minutes ago. Former LSU wide receiver Kayshon Boutte has been arrested, accused of using an alias to illegally bet on sports while he was underage. Louisiana State Police say in a news release, Boutte was booked into Baton Rouge on a felony count of computer fraud and misdemeanor count of gaming prohibited by persons under 21. If you read more into Wilson's story, it says that Boutte placed nearly 9,000 wagers, at least 17 of which were on NCAA football games, and at least 6 of which were on LSU football. So many thoughts come to mind here, but the prevailing one is that this is a young man with immense gifts who burst onto the scene in 2020 as the next star at LSU, and over the next 2 years proceeded to make some really, really immature decisions. That's really as kindly as I can put it. And because of those decisions, he was drafted in the 6th round and is now in jail. That was unfathomable when he walked off the field after that record-setting performance against Ole Miss in 2020. Now, there were other issues besides decision-making. He got hurt, and there was upheaval within the football program, and coaches were being fired and hired, and there was quarterback issues that he played with 3 different ones. But it would be burying the lead and misrepresenting the story if you didn't suggest that the decisions Kayshon Boutte has made over the last 4 years have cost him dearly. And everyone is innocent until proven guilty, and he'll see his day in court or wherever this transpires, but we're just reacting to what we've seen here over the last 10 minutes, and there's enough evidence that police arrested him and booked him into prison. The situation that arose after Kayshon Boutte's junior year was unlike any that I can remember. LSU has had a lot of players leave the program early for the NFL. And almost across the board, those players are celebrated on their way out, whether that's with the program holding a press conference to allow them to declare for the NFL draft, whether that's the university aiding them in a social media post with cool graphics and helping them craft the paragraph that goes with the departure. All of that stuff happens multiple times every year. Mason Smith, Mekhi Wingo this year, I mean, it's all the time. And oftentimes when players decide to come back for their final year, some of that same stuff happens. There are press conferences, there are social media posts that are put together for said players. And in Kayshon's case, after his junior year, he released one of these LSU-created social media posts saying, I'm coming back for my senior year. We all know in Washington that his sophomore and junior years weren't up to the standard that we expected from him after his freshman season. Following in the line of Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, he was the next guy. And so LSU was thrilled to have him back. And then a week later, you get just a Kayshon tweet. No social media post, no acknowledgement from LSU, only Kayshon Boutte on Twitter, I'm going to the NFL. That circumstance I cannot recall anywhere else with LSU players. Something happened within that week. Now, you can point to rumors and all the things that swirled around the SEC championship game. And quite frankly, you can point to this. I don't know how long this investigation has been open. But something suggests to me that if they've unearthed 8,900 wagers, and 6 of those wagers on LSU football games, that this has been going on for a little bit. I can't promise you it's been 2 years. But decision after decision after decision that has surrounded Kayshon Boutte has led to this moment where you have to wonder whether or not his time playing football is over. I don't know what type of punishment comes with this felony or this misdemeanor charge. That's in the future, and I'm certainly not a legal scholar, nor an attorney, nor a judge. I don't know if it comes with community service. I don't know if jail time involved. I know this. You don't get one over on the gambling industry. You're betting on games that you're playing in. We don't like that. There are billions of dollars being wagered annually on sporting events. And if you're going to be someone who attempts fraud, they're coming. They made some movies about that. Casino, Goodfellas, you seen all that? I'm the movie guy. But this is a disheartening story. Because when you think about a young man from New Iberia who's a 4-star recruit who decides to play for his hometown school, and then in the midst of what felt like a crumbling of the football program in a global pandemic, was the bright spot late in the season with that unbelievable performance against Ole Miss. He was the most positive thing in the entire football program at that point. And 2 years later, he's picked to wear the number 7, to be the playmaker, to be the guy who's the guy after Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson and Terrace Marshall move on to the NFL. And the star faded quickly. Transfer portal rumors and all that kind of stuff's flying around. And we're not here to be the town gossip, but you were here. You heard things. And then the SEC championship game stuff, and then the announcements, and all of this culminating in a guy that we all figured was a first or second round pick. You look at mock drafts entering that final year, they all saw it. And the Patriots ended up taking a flyer late in the draft. I was surprised he made the team. There's not a real good hit rate on late round draft picks. Sure, they happen, but it's not a great hit rate. Franchise is not fully invested in you at that point. But he made the team, and he played a little bit. And then you see this come out. And there's a part of me, there are layers to this. There's a part of me that's so saddened for a 23-year-old to have put himself in this position. Like, that sucks. And there's a part of me that goes, man, I know that LSU and all these high-level universities have talked to these players once sports betting became legalized, like, you can't do this. And Kayshon is far from the only one who's gotten into hot water with this. We saw the whole thing up there in Iowa, and Alabama's baseball coach got fired because, like, this is not a Kayshon problem. This has happened in a lot of different places, but you know the rules. You're creating an alias. You're betting on games you're playing in. That's absolutely a no-no. And consequences have to be paid for very, very poor and immature decisions. And there's been far too many of them over the last 4 years for Kayshon Boutte, and it's all come to a head. Now, he's young, and he has every opportunity to get out of prison, have his day in front of the authorities, and make some better decisions moving forward. But it's a sad situation for a guy who literally set an SEC record as a freshman in high school and has seen a steady decline in all of this since then. And again, you had your day in court, and maybe this comes out as some sort of misunderstanding, but it doesn't feel that way. And while Wilson and The Advocate are reporting facts in their story, and I invite you to go check out the story, NOLA.com, part of The Advocate, here on a sports talk show, I'm just going to put all this together and give my thoughts on it, and it's sad, and it's disappointing, and I can't say, quite frankly, that it's stunning because of what we've seen the last 3 years. I hope the absolute best for the young man. And thankfully, outside of him, this is not a crime that's hurt anyone. But it's got to be a sobering thought for a guy who was on every All-American list and every mock in the first round and counting dollar signs like the guys that you shared a locker room with, to all of a sudden be looking at a jail cell from the inside thinking, this all may be over. We'll update you as more becomes available, but if you just got in the car and you're curious as to what I'm talking about, The Advocate reporting that Kayshon Boutte has been arrested on a felony count of computer fraud and misdemeanor count of gambling prohibited by persons under the age of 21 for allegedly placing nearly 9,000 wagers underage under an alias, some of which on college football and on LSU while he was enrolled and playing football at LSU. It's a disappointing day for Kayshon Boutte, of course. Disappointing to start out on that note. Would like to talk a little bit more basketball, and we'll certainly talk about some football as well. And the Lady Tigers have a huge one in the PMAC tonight. We'll talk about that with Patrick Wright coming up in 45 minutes. But when we come back, Luke Johnson of The Advocate. We'll talk a little bit of New Orleans Saints coming up next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Happy New Year from your friends at Front to Back Boat Service. And what better way to kick off your new year than by taking your boat to the next level? Get the boat of
Moscona inviting you to join us for Thursday's AFR. Jim Harbaugh out at Michigan. Who's next for the defending champs? We'll have the latest on the Saints OC search, and we'll recap LSU, Georgia, and hoops. Join us for Thursday's AFR from 3 to 6. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You are listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Moving right along here on a Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's official grocery and supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. Speaking of those Saints, let's go out to the Jim's Firearms Hotline and chat with our guy Luke Johnson from The Advocate. Covers the black and gold with us every Thursday. Luke, how are you?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Things have calmed down, I would imagine, since the Loomis press conference last week when we had spoken. Has that sunk in any in New Orleans? Anybody, the Jets cooled a little bit?
Oh, yeah. I mean, for now.
Yep.
We'll see the next time they talk if that kind of reignites the passions around here. But I think everybody's just kind of chilled out, and really everybody's just kind of looking to see where this offensive coordinator search goes.
That's my next question. What's your sense in terms of the number of interviews they're doing and the folks that you're hearing they're targeting?
Well, let's just look at the candidates here. I think there's 6 currently out there. There's the 2 from San Francisco, and Brian Greasy and Clint Kubiak. There's Mike Sullivan, the Pittsburgh Steelers. He took over the play calling duties from Matt Canada midseason. Ronald Curry's in-house candidate. We reported that earlier this week. Then there's Los Angeles Rams quarterbacks coach Zach Robinson and Houston Texans quarterbacks coach Gerard Johnson. So that's 6 still out there. 2 are no longer on the board. Dan Pitcher took the OC job with the Cincinnati Bengals, where he was previously, and Shane Waldron is with the Bears. So, I mean, I think when you're looking at that, it's obviously a pretty wide net they're casting. I think most of these guys, with the exception of Sullivan and maybe Greasy, who I believe is 49 years old, most of them are really young, in between like 35 and 44. And, a lot of these guys come from the coaching trees that you'd kind of think they'd look at, the Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay coaching trees. And if they didn't work with them directly, they worked with guys that those 2 coaches worked with. So I think it's pretty clear that, outside of Ronald Curry and maybe Mike Sullivan, that they're really interested in modernizing their offense and running a sort of scheme that is similar to these schemes that are kind of taking over the league right now. And I think that's healthy for them to at least be considering that at this point, and just considering a lot of the names they've looked at. It looks like a direction they kind of want to take.
Yeah, we haven't seen the Saints kind of step out of the organization very often, so this is kind of a new process. In terms of timeline, what do you think is realistic?
I mean, I would expect this to go into next month.
Okay.
I don't think they're going to be making a hire anytime soon. It wouldn't surprise me if we hear a couple more names pop up. One name that we haven't talked about is John Gruden, and he's obviously a guy who, if they did want to interview for that position, if he wanted to interview for that position, they wouldn't have to request an interview. He's unemployed right now. Same thing goes for somebody like Cliff Kingsbury, who currently does not have a staff job in the NFL. So I think there's potential for us to hear a couple more names in this search, and I certainly think it's going to last beyond next week, which is the Senior Bowl. They'll get an opportunity to kind of talk to people there. I just don't think this is anywhere near completion. And this is kind of what Mickey said in his press conference. He was wanting to be deliberate with this. And he was wanting to kind of cast a wide net and look at the obvious candidates and the not so obvious candidates, and then make the correct decision from there.
There's no doubt in my mind that Drew Brees would have been given a say in this should he have been 31, 32 years old when this was taking place in New Orleans. Does Derek Carr get any say in this?
Well, if you believe Mickey, no. I do believe him on that. I think this is a decision that's being made at the highest levels of the organization. Now, if Carr had a problem with somebody, I think they'd listen to it. But I think this is about the organization looking at Derek as an asset that they're paying a ton of money and wanting to get the most out of him. And I don't think they have to go get his permission or get his advice on any of this. I think this is up to the Mickey Loomises and the Dennis Allens of the world. And, this is their jobs are at stake here. And how they are perceived around the league. I think they'd be doing themselves a disservice if they were asking Derek for his input and his suggestions on this. I think they've got to go with their gut and what their experience and their intuition is telling them.
As far as Derek's contract goes, there's a way they can restructure it to help him with the cap significantly for next year, but it would basically lock him in for that third year. What do you expect to see with the salary cap gymnastics with Derek Carr this offseason?
This is like the biggest possible question facing the Saints this year.
Yeah.
And I really do think it's a mystery. And I think we're going to learn a lot about what the organization thinks of Derek and his first year here. Look, everybody had all the right things to say about him. I think they were probably correct in saying that he received too much criticism for the team's play this year. Obviously, it wasn't good enough for big stretches of the year. But I think we saw at the end of the year that it can be good. The question is, if you restructure his contract, which I think he's due to count $40 million against a cap or $35 million against a cap this year, one of those two, you were tying yourself to him through 2025 at least. You're removing the possible out, and on top of that, his cap hit next year is huge. It's something like $50 million. So not only are you tying yourself to him for another year, but you're putting yourself in a position where you're almost going to have to tie yourself to him for the full length of the contract. Because if they have a 55, and it's $50 million now. If they restructure it and they push money into future years, it's going to be probably 65 million. Then you're going to have to restructure it again, and you're effectively tied to him for 2 years. So it's just it's possible that they can get themselves out of this hole. I think they've got 85 million or 84 million to clear as of right now. It's possible they can get out of this hole without touching Derek's contract. But then when you start looking at all the other contracts that they'd have to restructure, you're talking about adding money to Alvin Kamara's deal. He's going to count 25 million against the cap next year already. Ryan Ramczyk is going to count 30 million against the cap next year. Cam Jordan had 2 sacks this year. I think he's going to count like 21 million against the cap in 2025. So it's not a simple decision where you just we're going to touch everybody else's cap, because that's part of the consideration too.
Another offensive question that I have about this team is Doug Marrone. Been with New Orleans a couple different times, has some head coaching experience between those stops. They've spent a lot of money and a lot of high draft picks on offensive line, and it was not very good. Your thoughts on his performance and his future with the Saints?
Yeah, I mean, just being frank, I was surprised that he was not one of the coaches they let go. The offensive line, and particularly the run game, which he was the run game coordinator, was a massive disappointment this year. And he's had 2 years to develop Trevor Penning, and that hasn't gone very well. I know he's well respected, and Doug's a good guy. Everybody likes him in the building, but it was a surprise that he's coming back. And I don't necessarily think it's a sure thing that he's coming back because when they hire a new offensive coordinator, especially if they hire outside the building, that coach might want to bring their own coaches in. It might mean that Ronald Curry and Doug Marrone and Clancy Barone, the tight ends coach, who are part of the staff right now, aren't part of the staff a month from now. But I'm with you, though. Doug's unit vastly underperformed this year, and it was a surprise to see him back on the staff.
Chatting with Luke Johnson, Saints reporter for The Advocate down there in New Orleans. The Panthers have hired a new head coach. The Buccaneers just got to the second round of the playoffs. The Falcons are doing whatever they're doing. You're kind of just off-season thumbnail now that the entirety of the NFC South is watching from home.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was kind of wondering what direction the Panthers are going to have to take there because it's a tough situation for a new coach to be dropped into. I mean, the ownership there has a reputation around the league for being a little heavy-handed, being a little quick on the trigger finger. So it kind of wasn't a surprise to me that they, despite the fact that they interviewed a lot of big-name coaches, that the coach they got was a guy who has 1 year of offensive coordinator experience. He's going to have a big challenge there, and I think if you're going into that Panthers job thinking you're going to turn it around immediately, you're probably lying to yourself. So it's going to probably be a couple of years there. Falcons are a really interesting one. I mean, they've got so much talent on that team. You could see if they get the quarterback right, if they get the coach right, they could be a really big problem for the Saints in the NFC South. I think this division's going to just continue to get better. I think the Panthers, while I don't think they're going to be good, I don't think they're going to be a 1 or 2 win team again next year. I mean, the Saints, if they are intending to compete in this division, they have to get better this year. I think that starts really with this offensive coordinator search. If they could just get a little bit more out of that offense, you feel decent about it. Not knowing any of the moves they're going to make, obviously, but they've got good enough pieces here where they can compete. But they've got to get the scheme right, and they got to get their team right.
Luke, we appreciate some time. Have a great weekend, man.
You too, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yep, he's Luke Johnson, Saints reporter over at The Advocate. Always enjoy our time chatting with Luke on Sundays. Interesting that he thinks that Saints offensive coordinator search likely goes into next month. I know that 2 of the guys on their list are still playing with San Francisco, so I don't know what that means in terms of announcing a hire. But it's not a hurry. There's no transfer portal. You're not trying to recruit. It's not like the college game. You got an organization right now that's worried about decisions in terms of their salary cap and certainly scouting the NFL draft that starts with the Senior Bowl coming up next week. We'll instantly be there at the Senior Bowl as a station with Jacob and T-Bob there for the first part of the week in the morning. And I'm also going to talk a little bit more about Doug Marrone later on in the show. There's a story that was out on the Fan Nation Saints site that Bob Rose put out a couple of hours ago that I thought was interesting. So we'll talk a little bit more about Doug Marrone coming up. If you missed the news of the day that we led the show with today, Kayshon Boutte, former Tiger, arrested on felony counts for essentially betting on sports under an alias while underage and competing in the sport, being college football. About 9,000 bets, and it's not looking good for the former number 7 at LSU. Just a disappointing story to read, and we led with it. If you missed it, you can go back and catch it on demand. When we come back, we'll start talking some hoops. LSU and Georgia last night from Athens. I think a complicated game to talk about, but one that I want to talk about, so we'll do that next.
The Hunt Palmer Show. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile. on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online at reliefwindows.com.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $20,000 off new 23 Ram 1500 Black Widow trucks, $20,000 off new Ram 1500 trucks, and all new Bayou Automotive vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
BRAC teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. BRAC, your #1 park system in the nation.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13.
On Fridays, OTB! Did the Tigers manage to get it done against the Gamecocks in the PMAC Plus? We'll preview championship weekend for the NFL. Who will make it to the big game? And an hour of champagne shenanigans. Off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
LSU comes up inches, maybe centimeters short. Last night against Georgia, 68-66 was the final from Stegman Coliseum over in Athens. Just a disappointing result in a game that honestly could have gone either way in the final seconds. No question about that. I'll go chronologically here as I go through the game because it was a real bummer to have it end that way. The first half, I did not like LSU's offense at all. If you followed me on Twitter, you saw I put a tweet out like it was stagnant, it was disjointed, it was clunky, it was unimaginative, it was just bad. And they saved it after I sent that tweet by making their last 4 shots. But up until their last 4 shots of the first half, they were shooting 29% from the floor. Somehow, because you made those last 4 shots, you did finish the half 7 of 15 from three-point range, which is excellent. Only 5 of 17 from 2. Most of that was around the rim where LSU simply could not finish a bucket. Incidentally, for the game last night, LSU was a robust and an utterly unimpressive 7 of 22 on layups. I mean, you got Jalen Reed, who's 6'10", going up at the... It's actually... That's Jordan Wright. But like, it was right just about like that, where he can't finish from 2 feet. Trey Hannibal's driving in there and can't finish. Will Baker, who's a big around the basket, was completely unable to get finishes. And there were far too many times I felt like LSU was just simply having 3 guys stand on the perimeter and 1 guy try to drive off of a high ball screen, and that was the entirety of the offensive philosophy, or that's what it felt like for a lot of possessions on the court, and I don't like that. Not to mention the fact you only shot 2 free throws in the first half. That's a lack of attack and just a lack of ability to finish. If they're not fouling you around the rim, you ought to be able to get it home, and they couldn't. And that leads me to the last possession of the first half. There were 24 seconds left, and LSU had the ball for the last shot. And Jordan Wright dribbled by half court, which is fine. You're running the clock down. And then inside 10 seconds, Hunter Dean comes to set a screen for him while the other 3 guys stand still. And Wright waves him off, so Dean moves. And then at 6 seconds, Jordan Wright dribbles to the left. He gets stopped and picked, and he doesn't get a shot off. And that's frustrating to have a play where you don't really have a set plan, and one guy thinks he's coming to set a ball screen, but the guy hitting on the ball says, no, don't, and then you don't get a shot off. And that would be frustrating on its face if it weren't for the fact that this has happened 3 games in a row now, so it's even worse. In the game against Texas A&M at home, 12.4 seconds to play. In the first half, LSU's got the ball. Jordan Wright has the ball at the top of the key again, under 10 seconds, and Hunter Dean and Tyrell Ward go to set a high ball screen. You don't need 2 guys setting a high ball screen. This is not a stagger screen situation. That's just what they thought to do because they didn't have the ball. And as they go to set a ball screen for Jordan Wright, he passes it over to Mike Williams, so he doesn't even use the ball screen, and Williams takes 1 dribble off to the right and shoots some double clutch desperation heave that doesn't get anywhere near the basket, and you get no shot that's even remotely close to the goal. And then you go back 1 game further to Ole Miss. Jordan Wright didn't even start that possession until there were 5 seconds left, and he ran and threw up a running floater from beyond the free throw line. These end of the first half possessions are not acceptably organized. You've got guys going to set ball screens that aren't necessary. You've got guys not using ball screens. You've got guys throwing the ball. And in none of the 3 games did LSU get a functional shot at the basket off on a 1-possession possession. That's unacceptable. If your plan is to spread the floor and attack, you need to have someone who can spread the floor and attack. And LSU doesn't have Cam Thomas. They don't have Tremont Waters. You want to run that with Javonte Smart, Cam Thomas, and Trendon Watford? Have at it. Not this group. They need to be in some sort of set with some sort of goal in mind, as opposed to, just spread it and go make a play. They don't have any NBA guys. I hate these possessions, and it's 3 games in a row. You think that doesn't matter in the end of the first half? You're losing by 2 to Georgia. You're losing by 4 to A&M. These are 1-possession games inside 10 seconds. These possessions count, and LSU is wasting these possessions before the half. I hated them. In the second half, you got down by 8 with 2 minutes and 55 seconds left, and I thought that after Jordan Reed hit a huge three. Jalen Reed hit a huge three that the veterans, Cook and Hannibal, made great plays to get to the bucket and get those and ones. And yes, those were on spread floor drives. I understand. I don't think it's a high percentage play for LSU. They worked there. And you got in a situation where you had the lead late in the game, and you played a great defensive possession on Georgia's final possession. You forced a good shooter, mind you, but a shooter to shoot from 30 feet, and he clanged it off the back iron. And Hunter Dean got position to get that rebound. I complained about the offensive rebounding that A&M was able to do against LSU based on lack of boxing out, lack of fundamentals, lack of awareness, lack of seeing where the ball is, sometimes lack of hustle. Like, all those things were bad against A&M. In this situation, Hunter Dean did turn his back, got a body on Georgia's big, and then he didn't rise up to make a play on it. And I would have loved to get an over-the-back call there. Would have loved it. You're not getting that call. You are not going to get that call. And I'm not even 100% sure it was over the back. In real time, I was steamed about it. I went back and looked at it again. It'd have been an acceptable call had they made it, but they're not going to make that call. And frankly, I probably think it was a tough, hard-nosed, good play by the Georgia big to get the basketball. And then he makes a finish. And then LSU does what it can with 2 seconds left and flings it down the floor, and Wright makes the catch, and he gets a great look for that situation, and it went in the basket and came out. But you know that by now. And it's things like that in what I deem to be not a tournament year for LSU, and I don't think LSU's going to the NCAA tournament. I don't think LSU's going to the NIT. So wins and losses are important to show some progression, but this is as 50-50 as a game's going to get. And it became that way because both teams kind of did what they set out to do. What I tell you about Georgia yesterday, what's the identity of this Georgia team? They get to the foul line as well as anybody in the conference. And they win the free throw disparity in every conference game they play. And they did that again last night. They were 19 of 24. LSU was 12 of 14. Georgia shot 10 more. They made 7 more. They won the game by 2. That's what they want to do. They want to beat you by getting to the free throw line. And LSU wants to play good defense and turn you over. And LSU, to their credit, held Georgia 43% shooting, 29% from three-point range, and forced Georgia into 18 turnovers. Both teams kind of did what they want to do, and that's the way I would prefer to get beat. I don't want to get beat, but I would rather get beat by a team that can't do what they want to do, so they've got to do something that's an outlier. I don't like getting beat by a team that accomplishes the goal they set out to accomplish, which for A&M was to kill you on the glass, and for Georgia, it's to get to the free throw line. I would like to take a team's strength away, and LSU hasn't done that over the last 2 games, and that's why they're 0-2, part of the reason. And they could have won both of those games. Absolutely. They didn't. And there are a number of reasons for both of them. But ultimately, offensive rebound got you beat against A&M, and the free throws got you beat against Georgia. But this game and the result on the road kind of feeds into my assessment that, like, there's a hodgepodge of groups of teams in the middle of this league that are very similar. I will give the advantage to the team on their home floor, but on a given night, it could go either way. And in this game, the home team won it by a bucket. It's a better performance than what Arkansas is dishing out there. They got embarrassed by Ole Miss last night. You're better than what Missouri or Georgia or Vanderbilt's putting out there. But you're in a group with the rest of these teams, the Georgias and the South Carolinas, I still think, and the A&Ms, Arkansas, Mississippi State, Ole Miss. And LSU's kind of splitting the difference. They're fighting. They're competing. It's flawed. There are some things I don't like. There are some things I do. They get down against Auburn. They fight all the way back. They get down against Georgia by 8 with 2.5 minutes to go. They fight their way back and take a lead. And they're competitive on the road. They went on the road and were right there and couldn't get it done against Georgia. Went on the road and really dominated Texas A&M. And some of those are positive signs too. But ultimately, the last two haven't gone great. And now you've got a trip to Tuscaloosa coming up that's going to be real difficult. And then you've got to find a way to beat Arkansas. Absolutely got to beat Arkansas at home. That team is reeling right now. Bummer last night in Stegman. The final was 68-66. LSU loses it. They'll do battle against Alabama, 7 o'clock from Coleman, coming up on Saturday night. Speaking of that Arkansas team, I want to throw some numbers out there about what they did last night. So before we get to Patrick Wright coming up at 2 o'clock, we'll close things out with that coming up here on the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electric. Love our friends over at Boudreaux's Electric. Neil and Melissa have been running Boudreaux's Electric for 40 years. And they still operate like that family small business that they were 40 years ago. But they've grown, expanding to a second location in Gonzales, and they've got the highest end technology that you can get in the game. They're a certified Generac generator dealer, a premier Generac generator dealer, and they will monitor your generator remotely 24/7. If something goes wrong, whether it's supposed to be on or not, they'll know they can come out and service it. And when you get someone out to install or service your Generac generator with Boudreaux's Electric, you're going to get a full-time Boudreaux's employee, not some contractor they're sending out to your house to get something. No, this will be a Boudreaux's Electric employee. I can promise you that. When they come out for the install, they're going to use the highest quality in copper tubing, and they're going to do the majority of that install underground so that it's aesthetically pleasing outside your home or your business. Give them a call. Protect yourself from power outages with Boudreaux's Electric. 225-300-9389. 225-300-9389. That's our friends at Boudreaux's Electric.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Bayou Ford is taking $10,000 off MSRP on new 23 Ford F-150 lifted trucks. $10,000 off new Ford F-150 and 3.9% financing. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $20,000 off new 23 Ram 1500 Black Widow trucks. $20,000 off new Ram 1500 trucks. And all new Bayou Automotive vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Happy New Year from your friends at Front to Back Boat Service. And what better way to kick off your new year than by taking your boat to the next level? Get the boat of your dreams, and that's where Front to Back comes into play. You want that spot lock trolling motor that's going to keep you right there on the water where you need to be. How about some forward-facing sonar that actually shows you the fish before you even cast? Custom stereo jobs, all of it. Sherman family's been doing it for 38 years. Go to fronttobackboatservice.com.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice
Hanniger, the Friday edition of Live at Lunch from Rufino's. Jimmy has the day off, but Greg Waddell will be with us previewing college basketball as well as Bruce Marshall. Plus, we'll have coverage from LSU Baseball Media Day. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. Friday from Rufino's on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You are listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
I don't know each and every one of you listening out there. Don't know you all. But I feel like there are some things that make you all smile. And I feel like one of them that will make the vast majority of you smile here on this Thursday afternoon is just making fun of someone in the SEC, right? I wouldn't suggest that LSU's basketball team is humming on all cylinders right now. They've lost a couple in a row, and that's a bummer. But misery loves a little bit of company, and this is even worse than what LSU's got going on. So let's just throw a couple of stats in here from our guy Andrew Hutchinson, who we have on the show anytime LSU is doing battle with Arkansas, whether it's in football, basketball, or baseball. He wrote an impressive piece after Arkansas's latest debacle on the hardwood last night. They were destroyed by Ole Miss. And he's saying that game day should not go to Fayetteville, which they are for Arkansas and Kentucky. It's a 1-5 Arkansas team that has one win on a buzzer beater at home against Texas A&M. And the 5 SEC losses have come by an average of 20.6 points. In the one game they won, I mentioned it was on a buzzer beater. They squandered a 20-point lead to get there. Some statistics from a program that has been so solid and so stable under Eric Musselman is crazy. They shot 33% from the floor last night against an Ole Miss team that doesn't defend anybody. They shot 22% from behind the arc and 66% from the free throw line. They had 10 turnovers in the first 12 minutes of the game. At that point, Ole Miss had more points off turnovers, 17, than Arkansas had points, period, only 14. The Rebels almost had as many offensive rebounds, 16, as Arkansas had defensive rebounds, 19. And he says, speaking of defensive rebounds, Chandler Lawson, Jalen Graham, Mekhi Mitchell, and Bay Fall, you don't know who any of those people are, it doesn't matter. They played 37 minutes at the 5 for Arkansas last night. Not one of them got a single defensive rebound. 37 minutes, your 5s didn't get one rebound? You would think one would just fall in their lap. Maybe a missed free throw. Anything. The Rebels in this game scored 38 points in the paint. They had 32 points at the rim. Dunks and layups. This is an Arkansas basketball program that's been fantastic for 4 years. They cannot do anything at this point. Ole Miss beat them 77-51. 51. That's nuts to me. Since Ole Miss beat them 117-66 in Oxford in 1974, Arkansas has either won or lost by fewer than 26 in its previous 64 matchups against Ole Miss. Holy moly. Like, some of this stuff is nuts. They have had, Arkansas this year, has had a deficit of at least 10 points in 49% of its total minutes in SEC play. Half of the SEC minutes they have played, they have been down 10 points. You realize we start at 0-0, right? I probably wouldn't do this for Vanderbilt. Like, we just know they're bad. But Arkansas? This is like, to a lesser extent, like 2020 LSU football. This is an Elite Eight team 3 years in a row, knocking on the door of Final Fours. Bud Walton Arena, one of the toughest places to play in the league. Not anymore. See what Auburn did to there? it's some sad times there. And while there are probably a number of SEC schools that will quickly turn the page from basketball to baseball, Arkansas has not been one of them over the last few years. You can bet on it this year. Coach Van Horn, where you at? Baum Stadium? I don't care if it's 28 degrees. Where's my jacket? Calling the Hogs on the berm out in left field. No thanks. I know Bud Walton's a little warmer, but this stinks. I did not see this coming at all. And I mentioned Arkansas in the last segment. LSU gets the Hogs in Baton Rouge next weekend. That needs to be a win. And I'll probably revisit a lot of these numbers next week. And I realize that our job here is to talk LSU, talk Saints, a little bit of Pels. And we'll do a lot of that. But if there's ever a situation where I can make fun of a team, I'm going to take advantage of that when I can, right? Especially after LSU lost the game last night. We got a big one to talk about coming up after Sports Center. We'll hear the latest news and headlines from the national world of sports. Patrick Wright, voice of the Lady Tigers, with us to talk a big one coming up next.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
The importance of doing this fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
We're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance jobs, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. And I think we're rocking and rolling.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Bayou Ford is taking $10,000 off MSRP on new 23 Ford F-150 lifted trucks. $10,000 off new Ford F-150 and 3.9% financing. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
His name was Cain. He had a horse along the countryside. I saw him ride. One day they found him.
Is Sports Center.
I'm Doug Brown. ESPN's Adam Schefter reports the Panthers plan to hire Buccaneers offensive coordinator Dave Canales as the team's new head coach. Canales worked with New Carolina GM Dan Morgan for 8 years in Seattle. Adam also says former Patriots coach Bill Belichick might not get another head coaching job.
Sometimes teams get in the way of themselves and don't make rational decisions.
Yep.
And so here we have the greatest coach of all time who's sitting there with a lack of interest, which, again, boggles my mind. But we've seen it before with Lamar. We've seen it before with Brady.
Adam Schefter on Get Up. Wizards assistant Brian Keefe will be the interim coach for the rest of the season. He takes over for Wes Unseld Jr., who will move into the team's front office. Just 4 days after his win as an amateur at a PGA Tour event, Nick Dunlap announces today he'll turn pro. Dunlap is a sophomore at Alabama. He's the first amateur to win on tour since Phil Mickelson back in 1991. He'll play next week as a pro at Pebble Beach.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Kennedy, coming up Friday. I'll tell you why Jared Goff can go into San Francisco and upset the Niners. It's Unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to something quite extraordinary.
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge Studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour number 2, Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. We're brought to you by Rouse's Markets, official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. Talking LSU men's basketball, 2:15 with the voice of the Tigers, Chris Blair. Tough loss last night for LSU over in Athens. It's now time to talk Lady Tigers basketball as they play a massive, massive game with the number 1 team in the land, the South Carolina Gamecocks, and Patrick Wright will be on the call for it for the LSU Sports Radio Network. You can find it on Talk 107.3, where you can always find LSU basketball, LSU women's Tigers basketball in Baton Rouge. You can also hear it simulcast on Eagle 98.1 this evening. It is a big one. Patrick, thanks so much for the time. How are you this afternoon?
I'm doing good. I actually just came back from the arena. I set up for the game tonight. It coincided with our shoot-around. And it was very, very spirited as compared to how shoot-arounds usually are, kind of mundane. But there was an extra pep in everybody's step. So you can tell that our kids are really looking forward to tonight. They really, really look like they're locked in.
You've been doing this a long time. Biggest regular season home game in the PMAC since?
Well, as far as women's games goes, maybe the first time Simone played Tennessee her freshman year was our first sellout. Ended up losing that game by 3 points, but the atmosphere was electric. Nothing has really compared since. As far as men's or women's, I would probably go back to, I think it was 92 when Duke and Christian Laettner came to town. And that one didn't end well for the home team either. So, but those would be the two that off the top of my head that jump out.
The defending champs taking on the only unbeaten left in either men's or women's college basketball, South Carolina. Let's talk about the homestanding team first before we get to the number 1 team in the country. LSU started the season with that tough loss in the opener and then navigated its way through the non-conference before a little hiccup a couple of weeks ago. What's the progression been like from start to now for the team that was ranked number 1 in the country preseason?
Well, it was after the Colorado loss, and Coach Mulkey told anybody who would listen that, hey, Colorado got their whole team back. They went Sweet 16 last year. It's going to be a tough matchup. And it turned out, as she usually is, she was right. And then we used that game and then started building in all of our new players, especially Van Lith and Morrow. And up until the Auburn game, it was on a pretty good progression. Then you said hiccup. That was a good word, a bump in the road, just a fluke maybe. LSU had a bad day that day. Auburn had their best day. You lose. You hate to lose, especially games that you really should win. However, the 2 games since the Auburn loss have been LSU's 2 best games of the year. Went on the road, dominated Alabama, especially in the second half, and then came out and just dismantled Arkansas here on Sunday. We're getting into a good rotation now. It's a small rotation because of some of the injuries, but Haley Van Lith is really kind of coming into her own. Coach has found some ways to get her to play a little bit more off the ball, which is her natural position. So Haley will start at point guard, and then last year Poa will come in. She's usually the first sub off the bench. That bumps Haley over to point guard, to off guard, and it really seems they've got a good flow and a good rhythm going with that. And that's today is really now, I think, gonna test you, just like it did last year. Went to South Carolina undefeated, didn't know what we had, got handed a pretty tough loss, and then used that loss to get better. So I think regardless of what happens tonight, both teams are going to learn a lot from tonight because it's only January. Still a lot of ball left to play.
You mentioned Haley Van Lith. I do want to talk about her more specifically, and she had her best game as a Tiger in terms of scoring this week. I'm curious how much this team needs her to score to be the best team they can be.
And that's a good question. I mean, you don't need 25 a game from her because you've got others on any given night who can do that. But I think if she becomes really that double threat of, at any given moment, is she going to try to score the ball? Is she going to try to pass the ball? If she can get to 15 or 16, I think that's fine. And that's below what she averaged at Louisville. She was close to 20 there. You'd like more than 4 or 5, but you don't need 25. So 15 a night, I think we're good as gold with her.
As imposing as South Carolina still is in the front court with the size that they have, how big a night is it for these guards for LSU to try to score from the outside, specifically Michaela Williams, who I think might have a breakout game tonight for the nation to see?
I hope so, because Michaela was super against Arkansas, especially in the first half. She just came out and was hitting every shot you could name, and hopefully she can do that again here tonight. The one kind of to reverse it, though, what concerns you about South Carolina now, and if you watch their game with Iowa in the Final Four, Iowa basically just packed it in and dared South Carolina to beat them from outside, and they couldn't. Well, South Carolina's now got the best three-point shooter in the country on their team, transfer from Oregon, named Kylene Paopao, and she is shooting 56% from 3 on the year. And then they've got another kid who stepped up who's hitting about 45%. So if you dare them to beat you from the outside, they probably will this year. And so we're going to not only have to guard the interior, but our guards have got to be really good on the perimeter, keeping them from shooting the 3 also. Memory
serves, Angel Reese got in some foul trouble in this game on Super Bowl Sunday last year. This is a tough front court to go against, but LSU has put a lot of trust in her over the last year and a half. Big one for her tonight?
Yeah, I think so. And, she had that big run of double-doubles going last year, and then we got to South Carolina. She ended up, I think she was in a little bit of foul trouble, had 14 points and 4 rebounds. And that was, everybody wanted to pile on and say, hey, maybe you're not all that. And, of course, we know better than that now. But I think she's going to be motivated to really get it rolling. But everybody kind of looked at it last year as Angel Reese versus Aaliyah Boston. But Boston only had 14 points and 4 rebounds in that game herself. So they almost had identical numbers. But it was Camila Cardoso, the 6'7" center from Brazil, who scored 18 and had 13 off the bench, and she's back. She's here this year. So it's going to be a different, matchup, as Reese versus Boston. It's kind of like everybody against Cardoso, who's just having a year, as you would expect. I honestly think they're a better team than they were last year at this point.
I'm curious what you think about how LSU will handle the moment tonight. South Carolina is a program that has been on this stage year after year after year. Certainly Reese and Poa have seen it all here, but Van Lith and Morrow and certainly the freshman Michaela Williams will have not seen anything quite like this. Is this a great barometer for them as they get set for bigger games in the future?
I think it is. I think it is great that we've got this game where it is because you're going to see games. This is going to feel like a Final Four game tonight as far as the atmosphere, as far as the intensity, as far as the opponent. I mean, you're not going to face anybody better. This is going to be a good learning moment and getting used to it. we've had a few big moments as the year's gone on. Virginia Tech was a good one, and we came out and did really well in that game back in December, and Michaela Williams did quite well. But this is going to be a whole new level tonight, and I think having it on the road last year was a little difficult. I think being at home, I think we're going to respond a little better tonight than, we came out last year and we're down 18-2 4 minutes into the game and fought back, got it close a couple times, had some good stretches, but when you get hit by that freight train from the very opening tip, hopefully we can try to reverse that a little bit tonight, because I can promise you South Carolina has not seen anything the level of what the crowd's going to be like tonight in that building.
What do you think Kim Mulkey's one thing is as she enters this game tonight? What will her message be, or what will her hope be that she sees tonight from her team on either side of the floor?
Yeah, the general message is going to be, and it was the same exact message as it was going into that game last year, no nets are going to be cut down tonight. No trophies are going to be awarded tonight. Have fun with this. Let's try to win the thing. If we don't, our season is still wide open. SEC is, winning the SEC is probably out of the picture if we get a loss tonight. But we managed to do okay, not by not winning this game last year. It ended up okay. So as far as big picture, it's like just enjoy the moment. But our season is not, we're not. If we win the game, we're not going to win a trophy, and if we lose the game, the season's not over. That being said, on the floor, we got to rebound with them, and that's a whole lot easier said than done. But it's something we're really good at. We just got to be aggressive. Don't go out there tentative, because that's what South Carolina went to Texas A&M and just destroyed them in the first 5 minutes a couple nights ago, back on Sunday. So don't be timid. Play your game. If something doesn't go your way, just kind of hang in there, and let's let this crowd give them a reason to get into this game.
Well, I know you're going to enjoy it tonight, Patrick. Do so. Have a great call, and hopefully the Lady Tigers can get it done in front of a sellout crowd.
All right, looking forward to it. And by the way, I was out there, all the plaza stuff. It looks like the weather's going to be fine. They were setting up all the food trucks. So if the fans want to get out there, we're open for business.
Awesome. Sounds great. Enjoy it tonight, Patrick. Thanks for the time.
All right, thanks, Hon.
Patrick Wright, voice of the Lady Tigers. It's as big a spectacle as I can remember for women's basketball here in Baton Rouge, because College Game Day is going to be here. They'll broadcast from the PMAC. It's the biggest game of the regular season in college basketball this year. You've got two massive personality coaches, the defending national champs and the only undefeated team left in college basketball. I got 2 texts this morning from people that I would not consider to be women's college basketball diehards by any stretch, asking me what time the game was. Now, you can find that pretty quickly on your phone, but they were asking me, and I don't know that they've watched the team play a game all year. They'll be watching tonight, and I got a feeling a lot of people in purple and gold who may not watch every game that the Lady Tigers play will be watching tonight. Should be quite an event, and hopefully LSU can play a great game and keep that thing close and find a way to win it at the end. LSU and South Carolina tonight. It's at 7 o'clock to tip off. And a reminder, LSU Lady Tigers always on Talk 107.3 on our airwaves here, the LSU Sports Radio Network, but specifically here at Guarantee. And you can certainly hear it there tonight, but the signal for Eagle 98.1 is a little bit bigger. If you're a little bit out of that listening area and want to catch it, Eagle 98.1 simulcast for this one against South Carolina tonight. I'm looking forward to it. Should be a lot of fun. We'll come back and talk with Chris Blair, voice of the men's basketball team. That's coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge. Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch, Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
It was a humid day, barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time just slips away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me. Like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial properties, so retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Happy New Year from your friends at Front to Back Boat Service. And what better way to kick off your new year than by taking your boat to the next level? Get the boat of your dreams, and that's where Front to Back comes into play. You want that spot lock trolling motor that's going to keep you right there on the water where you need to be. How about some forward-facing sonar that actually shows you the fish before you even cast? Custom stereo jobs, all of it. Sherman family's been doing it for 38 years. Go to fronttobackboatservice.com.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Services and products, then look no further than Selassie Jewelry and Fine Gifts. And from now until Valentine's Day, they are having an inventory clearance sale. That's right, out with the old, in with the new. Don't miss this opportunity to get your hands on some beautiful jewelry at a discounted price. Selassie's Jewelry and Fine Gifts in the heart of the Denham Springs Antique District. Selassie Jewelry and Fine Gifts.
Off the Bench with Jacob Hester and T-Bob Hebert. Mornings from 7 to 10 on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Glow Resources, complete employer solutions. GlowResources.com.
This Sunday, as we bring you both the AFC and NFC championship games, we start with the AFC at 2 p.m., where the Chiefs and Ravens will do battle. Immediately following that, it's Lions and 49ers for the NFC title. Catch both of those games this Sunday right here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You are listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Let's head back out to the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Just talk to the voice of the Lady Tigers. How about the voice of the men? LSU Tigers. Chris Blair joins us every Thursday on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Does so now. Chris, how are you, sir?
I'm good, Hunt. How are you?
Doing well. You gonna be in the PMAC tonight? Are you gonna? I mean, I realize it's late night last night, so maybe some rest is in order.
It was a little late. The fog wreaked havoc with flights all around the east. So I think I walked in the door around 3 a.m. So we were excited to have a 5:30 Central tip, but the weather did not cooperate. So I'm probably going to lay low.
I completely understand that. It would have probably been better to walk in at 3 o'clock if that last three had rattled home, and it just about did. My dad was listening to you, and he said, well, Blair said it like basically went in. And I said, I'm watching. It did basically go in. I mean, what was your vantage point of that final shot from Jordan Wright?
Well, the first thing was, credit Jalen Reed. I mean, we couldn't figure out with the time on the clock, would you have time to enter it maybe midway up the court without having to heave one from midcourt? So they elected to go for the home run ball. And again, when it came over, it almost at an angle went over John Brady in my head, because we were worried it was going to go out of bounds. But it was a great throw, kind of the outside shoulder, if you will. And then when Jordan got it, he turned and kind of a fadeaway into the corner. And, again, we're looking right at the goal. And the distance, the trajectory, and then on its way down on the arc, I thought it was in. John thought it was in. We talked to Coach McMahon after the game. He was standing in front of us. He thought it was going in. And it just caught a little bit of rim first and then hit the other side and came out. But, it was that close.
I got a feeling LSU is going to be in a lot of those this year with the middle of this league, which is just absolutely just between teams like 4 and 12, just a total hodgepodge. And LSU and Georgia certainly in that mix, I think, right now. What did you think of LSU's defense on the final possession that Georgia ended up scoring and taking the lead? I think you forced the shot you were looking for.
Yeah, you got the shot you wanted, and frankly, it was an over the back to get that rebound. I looked at it again. Coach McMahon, spoke his grievances with the officials. He thought it was clearly over the back. I mean, give Hunter Dean credit. He's given up a few inches in height, but he had a great box out. And Chiwa just kind of went over the top, tapped it, got it back to himself, and, again went in and got the and one. But, they got exactly the shot they wanted. It was a 26-footer. And Abdur Rahim, while a very good player and a very good three-point shooter, he just wasn't on last night. So, I don't know if that's the guy you want taking the shot, but you got him to take a contested shot a little further than I'm sure he would like. But, yeah, I think I thought Hunter Dean did everything he was supposed to do on a box out from a long three. And unfortunately, Chiwa got it back, got the and one, and that was the difference in the game.
Yeah, I was incensed in the moment. I thought it looked like over the back in real time. As I look at it again, I'd love the call. My assumption is you're just not going to get it, and LSU certainly didn't. But LSU was down 8 with 2.5 minutes to go, and you figure it's pretty much over. Reed hits the three, and then Hannibal and Cook with the and ones. This team is old, and they showed it there late in the game, getting the shots that they wanted and clawing their way back in the game. I thought I was impressed with not LSU's offense on the whole for the night, but in those possessions, in crunch time when they had to have it, they got great looks.
Yeah, there was a couple of factors, I think, in the game in its totality, and it's one of the things, Hunt, I talked to Coach about. We all get caught up with the final shot, or we all get caught up on whether it was an over or back or not in the final 7 seconds. Truth of the matter is that a 40-minute game is made up of just that, 40 minutes. And I thought the opening 6 minutes, 7 minutes of the game, LSU missed a big opportunity. Georgia couldn't buy it. They were missing at the rim. The guy couldn't dunk it. He's 6'9", and he couldn't dunk it. And LSU just, again, offensively weren't able to hit shots. Again, they missed shots at the rim. But it was almost as if you could have gotten out to a better start and maybe built a sizable lead early. I mean, Georgia played horrendous through the first 2 media timeouts, and yet they were only down a point or two. That was a missed opportunity. And I think LSU's defense in the first half was lacking because, again, Georgia's designed offense is Justin Hill, Thomas, and those guys just put your head down, drive, and then see if you can kick it out or just go to the rim. And that's why they get to the free throw line 20-plus times a game, and that's what happened last night. I thought LSU did a much better job, credit Jordan Wright and Jalen Cook, of taking away that dribble drive and forcing them to do things off the bounce that they didn't want to do in the second half. First half, they drove at will, and again, they missed some shots, but they got some great shots. Thought LSU did a better job in the second half, and that's what I was most proud of, and unfortunately just unable to get that shot there at the end. But, a couple of missed opportunities throughout that game, and you learn from them. But you can't take away from the fact that these guys, as you pointed out, looked like they could have folded up and left with, 6 minutes to go in the game, and they didn't, and battled back and made it a contest. And I think you're right. I mean, when you look at the SEC, I think it's a very top-heavy conference. Last night's Alabama-Auburn game was a little surprising just because I thought Auburn was, and they were playing as good as anybody in the country. But Alabama plays good. Boy, oh boy, when they hit threes, they're tough, especially in Coleman Coliseum. But, outside of that top four, it's anybody's game. And, I think we're going to see a lot of those close affairs down the stretch here for most of them.
Jalen Cook found a little bit of a stroke last night from three-point range. How big a development could that be for the team?
That could be huge. I mean, I think they kind of were over their skis as a team shooting the three. I mean, I don't think that's, the formula that works, although I will say there were a lot more, catch and shoot threes as opposed to trying to create it off the bounce, which I think is not a strong suit for any of LSU shooters. So again, when you've got a, ball reversal, extra pass, square to the basket, open look, I think LSU is a very manageable 3-point shooting team. And if Jalen Cook can continue to do that, then that's only going to help. I still would like to see his turnovers start to drop down a little bit. He started out when he got cleared against Texas. I mean, his assist to turnover ratio was impressive. That's kind of flipped its way over the last 3 to 4 games. And I know if he can just get those turnovers down, because you get so much of an upside with Jalen that you almost have to overlook some of those things. But it does cost you, when you lose possessions. And especially, like against Auburn, where the turnovers turned into, live turnovers, which turned into immediate points for the opponent. So if he can turn those down and keep the scoring up, I think he and Jordan Wright possess and present a very difficult backcourt to defend against anybody they play.
Chatting with Chris Blair, voice of the Tigers, with us every Thursday here on the Hunt Palmer Show. I was expressing a little bit of concern, displeasure, whatever the case may be, with LSU's final possession of the last 3 first halves. They've had the ball for the last shot in the first half against Georgia, A&M, and Ole Miss, and they haven't even really gotten a look yet. What are you seeing from courtside in those final possessions, where to me it looks like they're clearing out and trying to drive, but may not have the guy to do it?
Yeah, it looks like they're not getting it once they cross the timeline, especially if they're bringing it up the floor in that final possession. You can see they spread the floor, and it's almost as if I don't know. I can't give the other team a lot of credit, but maybe that's the fact that they're denying where they want to start the ball in the rotation from. And then it looks like everybody starts looking at each other, and then they dribble into the corner, and then they make a pass and then have to heave one off balance. I mean, you can tell there's a set play there, but it's almost like the straw, so to speak, that's supposed to stir this thing doesn't get it on the second pass.
Yeah.
And I don't know how they correct that other than make sure we get it to that guy. Maybe you set another off-ball screen, because it looks like the person who's supposed to mastermind the possession doesn't have the ball in his hand. And I know that's a concern. Coach Brady's talked about it as well. He knows that there's a play drawn up, and it just looks like the one missing piece is getting it to the guy who's supposed to start the action.
Those one-possession games, you'd like to have something a little bit better executed there at the end of the half. I bet Coach McMahon is looking at that intently. I covered a game in Coleman Coliseum, but that was 12 years ago, about almost 12 years ago to the day, and it was an absolute dump. Is it still among the lower end of the Southeastern Conference?
Yeah, I mean, as far as aesthetics and, modern accoutrements, so to speak, in today's venues, absolutely. It's like an airplane hangar. But I will say this, since Nate Oates has been there, I mean, they've created an energy, and that place is almost like an echo chamber. I mean, it's a lot of metal, and it's tight space. And when they bring them in there and they get loud, it's a tough place to play. And as John Brady says, there's been a lot of really better talented LSU teams that have gone in there for years and years and years that have had trouble in that building. So until LSU can get us some consistent wins over in Tuscaloosa, I think it will continue to be a tough place for the Tigers to play. And, the only thing I think that is a benefit for LSU is it was a very physical game last night. I know it was an emotional win. It got a little chippy at the end. We were watching sitting on the bus. So I know they expended a lot of energy, and they probably feel a mile high right now beating Auburn and breaking their win streak. So maybe that's a good thing for LSU, and maybe Nate Oates' biggest challenge is to get their feet back on the ground today and tomorrow before LSU comes in, because on paper LSU is going to be the underdog. But I don't think leaving Athens last night, or watching the guys leave Auburn and being around the team after the A&M loss, I don't think mentally this team is where they were a year ago. I think this team knows we're just missing a few things, and we keep fighting, we keep climbing. Eventually good things are going to happen, and they still have their head up, and I think that's an asset going into Alabama Saturday.
Dreamland Barbecue, Ramajama for some biscuits and gravy. What's the order in Tuscaloosa?
No, I don't wander around much in Tuscaloosa. I stay pretty close to the team and to the hotel. I don't venture out a lot.
All right. Well, enjoy your safe travels and enjoy it, and we'll be listening on Saturday.
All right, Don, thanks.
He's Chris Blair, voice of the Tigers, LSU and Alabama, 7 o'clock. Coming up on Saturday, you can catch it on Eagle 98.1 here in Baton Rouge. 6:30 pregame with Chris Blair and John Brady from T-Town. He mentioned it, and I'll go back and look at it before tomorrow's show. As far as I know, LSU hadn't won in Coleman Coliseum since like 1986. I'm being facetious in a way, but I don't remember LSU going in there and winning. It just seems like it's never happened. So hopefully we can change that on Saturday. We'll see. I'll do the research for tomorrow and see when the last time or how many LSU's won out of the last 20, but it ain't very many. I can promise you that. Won't have any bearing on the outcome on Saturday. It just is what it is. Take one more timeout. Well, no, we got 2 timeouts left to take. We'll take one here and come back with more on this Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is where we ask you to go every single day. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. Could be a full-scale renovation. They're a licensed contractor. They can do any of the things that you need to do with your bathroom and closet, and it's one phone call to David Duvall and his team at One Bath and Closets. Or they can do something smaller, tub-to-shower conversion. Take that tub out that you never use because you don't have Myers Palmer splashing around in the bathtub every day at 5:30 and creating a ridiculous mess. You don't ever use the bathtub, so take it out. Put in a glass walk-in shower. Could be absolutely gorgeous, change the aesthetic and the functionality of your bathroom, and add some value to your home should you ever want to put it on the market and get some more dollars for it. Starts with One Bath and Closets. Go to the website, onebathandclosets.com. Get that free consultation. Check out the photos of their great work. Go ahead and look at the testimonials from their satisfied customers. And get that free consultation. One Bath and Closets. Find them at onebathandclosets.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Thursday's AFR. Jim Harbaugh out at Michigan. Who's next for the defending champs? We'll have the latest on the Saints OC search, and we'll recap LSU, Georgia, and hoops. Join us for Thursday's AFR from 3 to 6. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You are listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Moving right along here. Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, always presented by Rouse's. Got about 30 minutes. Appreciate you hanging out with us. The Saints have made some moves, obviously, with the coaching staff on offense to begin this offseason. And we're still looking for who the next offensive coordinator for New Orleans will be. And if you were listening earlier, when we chatted with Luke Johnson, he expects that decision to be drawn out a little bit, maybe another couple of weeks before that decision is made. And that's perfectly acceptable. You're not under the gun at this point in terms of timing. And there's a piece written on Fan Nation, part of the SI network, that caught my attention today from Bob Rose. And he just kind of laid out the situation with Doug Marrone, the Saints offensive line coach. Doug Marrone was one of the coaches that was not relieved of his duties on the offensive side of the ball. And I'll be honest, it's a little curious. And it kind of smacks of what we've grown accustomed to the Saints as being, certainly post Sean Payton, but even in the Payton era. There's a little club there that fits in the bubble, and it just takes a long time to get them out of the bubble. And Doug Marrone is very much in the bubble. He's part of this group that was held together for continuity's sake to try to extend the greatest run in the history of the franchise. He's 59 years old. He was the offensive coordinator on Sean Payton's first staff in New Orleans back in 2006. He was there for 3 years, and over those 3 years, the Saints were fantastic. They were first in both total offense and passing, and they were top 5 in the league in scoring offense 2 of the 3 years. They were great. And Marrone left that job to become the head coach at Syracuse, and then he became the head coach of the Buffalo Bills. After that didn't work out, Jacksonville brought him in as an offensive line coach, and then he was the interim coach there, and then took over as the full-time head coach in Jacksonville. But when he became available, after 6 years in Jacksonville, he went to work at Alabama, had a little bit of a run there, and then in 2022, Dennis Allen brought him back in as the offensive line coach following Sean Payton's resignation. And just another one of those guys that's been part of the crew, and so we'll bring him on back to be part of the crew. But his unit has been very, very poor. We know the Saints had a horrible time trying to run the football this year, especially out of traditional formations. Taysom Hill had some success when you can win the numbers game because you don't have a quarterback back there, and they've got to go ahead and take control of that. But you're talking about a Saints offense that's managed fewer than 110 rushing yards per game and has been near the bottom of the NFL in rushing average since Marrone returned. Last year, they were 31st in the league in yards per carry, 3.6 per carry. And it's not like they're any better protecting the passer. Jameis Winston got hurt. Derek Carr's been hurt. And they've been under pressure essentially the entire time. And it'd be one thing if you had a significant talent problem. If you've got a quarterbacks coach and he's back there coaching a rookie 6th-round draft pick, well, I don't know if he's doing a terrible job. He doesn't have a guy that's capable of doing the job. But the fact of the matter is that the Saints' offensive line is made up of a lot of money and a lot of early-round draft resources. Ruiz, McCoy, Ramczyk, Pete, Penning. These are guys that the Saints took early, identified as pillars to the offense, because while I'm a little bit criticizing just keeping the band together from 2006 through 2024, it was, after Breeze, the installation of that stellar offensive line, which really helped springboard the whole thing. With Jari Evans and the whole crew, you know that story. Carl Nix. So I'm not going to criticize you for drafting offensive linemen really early, but I am going to criticize somebody if you draft all these offensive linemen really early and the line stinks. I don't know if it's evaluation. I don't know if it's scheme, technique, execution, but it's not good. And you took Penning in the first round 2 years ago, and he's benched. And you took Nick Saldiveri in the 4th round this year, and he played 18 offensive snaps. And you had some real problems up front that you ended up plugging with guys off their couch. These guys weren't even on anyone's roster, and you're signing them to come in and start at right tackle. Ruiz has been bad. McCoy's been mediocre. And there's not even really a strength of the unit. I will say this in the course of this discussion, like they got better over time. And maybe that's because Doug Marrone got in there and got his hands dirty and took the hodgepodge unit and made Pete work at left tackle and took your journeyman and put them on the right side. And like it got a little bit better. And Derek Carr got healthier and the offense moved a little bit more efficiently. But to suggest that Doug Marrone's been a slam dunk would be a little bit misleading. I'm surprised that Doug Marrone is still there because of the production from that unit. You moved on from your wide receivers coach, your offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach. And Ronald Curry's still around, and they think the world of him, and they're interviewing him for the offensive coordinator role, and okay. And Marrone's still around. And as we talked to Luke in the last hour, like maybe you hire a new offensive coordinator, he's got some staffers in mind, and he's going to help clean house because he took this job with the source of autonomy. And you know what? That wouldn't be shocking because we've talked about this a good bit over the last 2 weeks, that whatever offensive coordinator you're bringing in has to, at least in the back of his mind, understand that the head coach he's coming in to work for is on a little bit of a warm seat. So you're going to say, I want this job. I want to do this, and I'll be good at it. But there's a reason that you cleaned house on the offensive side of the ball, and you're probably going to need to do a little bit more of that because I got guys that can make this thing better than what you had that made you clean house right after the season was over. And maybe that's part of the interview process, and you've got someone strong-willed enough to say that's what we're going to do. As Luke said, a lot of people in the organization really like Doug Marrone. He's a nice guy, and he's well-respected, and he's been around. But I'm just looking at the productivity of the group. Outside of Ramchik's injuries, which have derailed his career later on, Penning, what? Ruiz, huh? Some of these guys that are early in their career that should be entering their prime are declining? Seems like not great on the coaching front. So we'll see when the coordinator hire is made, what that decision looks like. Maybe they think Doug Marrone's the guy, and you move forward. But it would not surprise me also if they bring in a new offensive coordinator that says, I think we're going to go in a different direction here. Just curious. I thought that was a good piece. So if you want to read more about it, go to SI.com on the Saints page, and you can see a really good piece put together by Bob Rose just about this decision and the curiosity behind it. I laid out some of the statistics there that Bob posted, but I think added a little color and my thoughts to them as well. Thursday show is brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets. Want to remind you all to download the Rouse's app. It makes your shopping so much easier, especially on a day like today where it's rainy and nasty. You don't want to get out of the car in the parking lot, get the umbrella out, go into the store, do your shopping, and then haul a bunch of groceries and try to put stuff in the car while it's pouring down rain on you. That's another reason why it's great to do the curbside pickup. Just download the Rouse's app. If you spend $35 on your grocery order, it's $0 extra for them to come out and bring you your groceries. Throw a king cake in there as well. Code Saints20, 20% off your orders of $20 off your orders of $100 or more at any Rouse's location. Love our friends over at Rouse's and thank them for bringing you our Thursday shows each and every week. We'll come back and close it out after this.
The Hunt Palmer Show. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink, or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial properties. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Happy New Year from your friends at Front to Back Boat Service. And what better way to kick off your new year than by taking your boat to the next level? Get the boat of your dreams with that. We're Front to Back.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com.
On Fridays, OTB! Did the Tigers manage to get it done against the Gamecocks in the PMAC Plus? We'll preview championship weekend for the NFL. Who will make it to the big game? And an hour of champagne shenanigans. Off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
It's Championship Sunday in the NFL, and we've got live play-by-play, both of the AFC and NFC championships. First, the Ravens will host the Kansas City Chiefs at 2 p.m., followed by the 49ers and the Detroit Lions at 5:30. Your home for the 2024 NFL playoffs and Super Bowl 58 is 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
We opened the show today with the news of the day that was breaking at the time. It was about 8 minutes old when we hit the airwaves. The news of Kayshon Boutte, if you missed this, arrested here in Baton Rouge on accounts of fraud and gambling while playing as an underage person. Just without any details, it sounded like a very, very poor decision-making by Kayshon, which is something that unfortunately has happened far too often. But as details are uncovered, it just gets worse. According to Wilson Alexander, court documents obtained by the advocate say that Kayshon Boutte opened up a FanDuel account with the username Kayshon Boutte 01. It'd be one thing if, like, LSU basketball player Michael Williams opened a FanDuel account. Well, at least there's like just tens of thousands of those. There's just not that many Kayshon Bouttes. He bet on himself against Florida State as part of an 8-leg parlay. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that one didn't cash. Just a hunch based on attending that game. And then transactions occurred within LSU football ops. They can obviously trace your phone. They know where it's legal to place a bet, where it is illegal to place a bet. It's legal to place a bet in Louisiana. It's not if you're underage, and it's certainly not if you're in football ops and you play for the football team and you bet on the football team. And quite frankly, just connecting some dots here, I don't have any problem doing that. We all know that Kayshon was a little cranky during that game. Maybe because he had himself catching a few more balls and a touchdown. Just a hunch to connect some dots. Matt will have a lot more on this story. He'll have had 2 hours to digest the entire thing. I've been on the air really since it broke. I gave my thoughts on it at the start of the show. You can go back and listen to it on demand or catch it on LSU. But it's just overall, between the autograph thing that got him suspended for a game, the rumor swirling around the SEC championship, this gambling situation, the thread of very, very immature and poor decision making just continue to show up time and time again, and this one has cost him dearly. So, hoping the best for him, but it's just a really, really, really poor string of decisions. All right, Beck, take it or leave it.
All right, first one here. The Team USA Golf Olympic uniforms are out. Uniforms are. Take it or leave it.
I realize this is an audio medium for most of you, but Casey's got the pictures of these golf uniforms. It is so bad. So bad. They've got these sleeves on that almost look like Zubaz pants on the sleeves. It's terrible. It is so easy to make a good-looking uniform out of red, white, and blue.
What did they expect? They got. Is it Jay? It looks like Jay Lindbergh, right?
Yeah, I don't know who Jay Lindbergh is, but it's pretty obvious.
That's who does Victor Hovland's clothes.
Great.
So yeah.
Whose idea was this?
Yeah, let's go look at Victor Hovland's clothes. Oh, that's a great idea.
I would rather Myers design clothes than Jay Lindblad, and he's 2 in a month. That is, whose decision is that? Probably they gave the most money. The uniforms look terrible. The team will look terrible. That's an awful decision. By the way, I should be in charge of every Ryder Cup and President's Cup uniform for perpetuity.
Yes,
everyone.
I agree.
That should be me.
All right, next one. Nick Dunlap has announced he is turning pro to utilize the 2-year exemption he got on the PGA Tour from winning the American Express last week. Famous golf team is screwed. Take it or leave it.
I will take it. They are screwed. Their best player, the best player in the country, is no longer on the team. They still got some other good players, but this had to be made. This decision had to be made. He's got a 2-year exemption to go and start making some money. He gets to skip the Corn Ferry Tour. He gets to skip qualifying and Q School. I realize that you've given up an exemption, I believe, to the PGA. However, you just got to go play. And the other deal that is interesting here for Dunlap and his status in golf is that we don't know what tour exists next year. Like, at some point, LIV and the PGA are going to merge into some global golf thing. And I don't know where Nick Dunlap fits in. If he goes out there and wins 2 more tournaments this year, I know exactly where he fits in, wherever all the great players are playing. If you wait and decide to finish college and stick it out with your teammates, and then all of a sudden golf gets flipped on its head, I don't know what your earning potential is, because we just don't know what the future of golf is. So I believe Nick Dunlap when he said it was an easy decision but a very hard decision to go to his college teammates who were just starting a spring season, who have national championship aspirations, to go, hey, I realize I'm the best player here, but I got to go. Although I think they all understand it. He'll sit out this week at Torrey Pines, as he's doing currently because they started yesterday. But he's going to play at Pebble next week, which is really cool.
All right, this is the last one. It's a part 2 to that one. During the press conference that Dunlap had, he thanked Alabama trainer Clark Holter, who helped him rehab a wrist injury, a ruptured eardrum, and a shoulder issue the night before the U.S. Amateur Semis were to take place, in which Dunlap suffered these injuries from throwing balls at clowns at Dave & Buster's. Throwing your shoulder out at Dave & Buster's. Take it or leave it.
You know, there's a reason professional athletes have like clauses in their contract they can't play pickup basketball or ride motorcycles or whatever. Nick Dunlap's in the semis of the USAM, which incidentally got him into the American Express, where he won and got his card. So if he got too hurt at Dave & Buster's throwing balls at clowns, then he wouldn't be in the situation he's in right now. he shouldn't have even been at Dave & Buster's. Like, I realize he's 20 years old, he's a kid, but like, you're playing in the USAM at Cherry Hills is the biggest tournament of your life. Maybe pack it in, eat a steak, and watch some Netflix or something, and don't go to Dave & Buster's and start hurling balls at clowns.
He owes his trainer
the trainer
a lot.
needs a cut of the winnings from. Well, he didn't have any winnings from the American Express. Whatever he wins moving forward, that trainer needs about $40K.
All right, that's it for Take It or Leave It.
That's it for Take It or Leave It here on this Thursday. Excited for LSU in South Carolina tonight. If you missed this earlier, we chatted with Patrick Wright talking about it. They're 7 o'clock tonight. You can find it on Talk 107.3, where you always find it here in the Baton Rouge listening area. However, if you're just outside of that, find yourself in the car, want to listen, Eagle 98.1, which has a bigger signal, is simulcasting the game. So excited to see a full crowd inside the PMAC and a huge game for them. We'll talk about it tomorrow. We'll talk LSU Bama tomorrow. And Jay Johnson meeting with the media on Media Day, starting baseball off tomorrow. We're going to be talking about that as well. Looking forward to it. Matt's going to drive you home next. Go Tigers! See you tomorrow.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded,